I'm here with Joshua McGrath, one of the founders of Doppler Interactive, and we're going to be talking about his company today and about video games in general. You're a new company and you're making video games?
Yes, certainly.
So how did your company get started?
That's a very good question. Myself and the other founder, we've worked in the industry for 5 or 6 years, roughly. The other partner is in design. My other partner, Jessica, we'll call. She's been working in design, especially print media, the sort of composition of magazine layouts and such, for quite a while. And I will answer your question ahead of time. I originally studied computer science,
Yep.
So I was an engineer. I worked with banking, I worked with Google, of all places. Then I moved into video games. It's interesting because, and you probably feel the same way, everybody goes, man, I'd love to make video games, but it's probably only for, those guys who do really well, that top 1%.
Yeah.
And then you work really, really hard through uni, and you graduate in the top 1%, right? And you don't think about it, you go, well, I better go work for a bank.
Yes.
And then you realise that you are that 1%.
Yeah.
You are that 1%. So I went into video games and I worked there for a year and a little bit. Now, in Gen Y, a year is actually a very long time. So it's 10 years if you're a little bit older than 26. It was a very interesting experience, I think. I started as a lead engineer on that game project. That was an MMO. Because everyone wants to make World of Warcraft. Because they've seen that makes money. Which is silly. Somebody's done it. They've smashed the field wide open. You don't make World of Warcraft again.
Yeah, you need to make something
exactly.
new. Yeah.
Complementary even would work. But, so I started as lead engineer and got promoted up to project manager. And lead game designer at the same time, so that was all mine. And we went to China, to Shanghai, to interview all of their development companies, see how they do things, see how they run their projects, how they get things to be efficient or of high quality. Their quality is extremely good, but I think it's because they work for a very long time. Because it seems like their raw talent, from what I saw, was a little bit lower, but their work ethic is substantially higher. So it's like longer with less produces more. Maths, maybe, I don't know. But
you think that's the Asian work ethic?
I think so. I think, yeah, I'm not sure. They seem to just work for a long time. I don't think they're working hard, because you just see them sitting around eating ramen, right? That's dead serious. All the offices smelled like noodles. But they just work like overnight and on the weekends. I'm not sure. Very interesting either way. But we came from that, so design and engineering and then game design, and every weekend I was spending all my weekends making my own games or learning new approaches or just working on little tricky game mechanics I thought were interesting. And eventually I think it becomes to the stage where you've got enough business experience and enough engineering experience to say, well, I could continue to work on somebody else's project, or I could take this little bit of capital I have here and do my own thing. And with the way the market is now, pretty good engineering tools, pretty good design tools. If you've got a pretty good work ethic and a reasonably high level of experience, I think you can push out a product probably once a month. And a month for a business is not a long time. So if you get into positive cash flow in like 6 months, that's what I did. So I think you realize that, and everybody hates their job. I think not everyone does something about it. So we both hated our jobs. Yeah. So do something about it. Start a business.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
So what type of games are you looking at producing at Doppler Interactive?
I had this discussion with the other partner yesterday or the day before. It seems the industry is splitting into multiple groups, right? But you could sort of categorize them as the high level games, the AAA games. Your Modern Warfare,
games from big studios.
Yeah, your Warcraft, all that business. You have a bunch of business in the middle, a bunch of grey stuff that you can't categorize. And then you have those games on the left. Examples would be any of this indie business, Boy Blow, Minecraft. Minecraft, yeah. Which is the flavor of the month.
Exactly,
right now. I haven't played it yet.
Oh, it's fantastic.
I just read it. I don't want it to colour what we're doing right now. I just have to wait till we finish and do this.
Yeah, it's
next.
a big time sink.
But this business on the far left, where it's more about innovation and newer little game mechanics that you can afford to spend a large amount of time on if they don't succeed. We really like that side. Mainly, it's realistic because we're a small studio. It's tricky because I think I'm sometimes hesitant to call ourselves a game company because games sometimes feel a little bit restrictive. It's more, you have a video, right? Yeah. And you have a game, and then I think somewhere in the middle, and this is a contentious assertion, you have Facebook and Twitter. And I'm going to say Facebook and Twitter are the interactive evolution of probably a textual book. But we'll say they're an evolution of YouTube if they ever become visual. I like this business where a social network becomes like an interactive, tangible experience. So, and I'll show you what I mean. We've got a product that's we're working with it right now. Somewhere between here is where we really want to sit. So, video games are fantastic, and I love that interactivity. But we also like to work in the sort of interactive narrative. Maybe not a game per se. Maybe more an interactive film.
So sort of blurring.
Yeah. So it's sort of
blurring
the area. I think it's just looking at where the web.
Yeah.
We've got to find a new word for that. Is right now and sort of picking it up with the technology we have now. So with us as a game company, it's easy, but I think answering the question, what sort of things we're looking to make. We don't really define it at first. We just make what needs to be made. I think that's the beauty of being such a small company. You're really agile. You can have an idea in the shower and then do it 5 minutes later. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter because you didn't waste too many people's time.
You haven't wasted $2 billion on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're looking to make everything. But games is the area we're in, I think.
So about the games industry, what type of trends do you see the gaming industry going in? Like, where do you think the game industry is going?
I have a very good answer for this one.
Feel free.
This is my bit. I have to give this to everyone.
Okay, cool.
I'll use an example, right, for making your personal website or your web space. Remember back in the day, at the very, very start of it, you had to have your web server and an understanding of coding, right?
Yeah.
That's how you made your website. And then it became GeoCities and AngelFire. They would host it for you, you just learn how to program it. And then it became, we'll say, MySpace, you know, where they'll host it and give you a rough template, but you still have to do all the CSS and business like that. And then Facebook comes along, and suddenly they're going, this is what the profile looks like, just put your business in there. And everyone's got a web space. They don't realize it, but it's their own web page, you know. And that's how that evolved. And we're seeing the same thing with, say, making film, and progression from, you know, to YouTube.
Yeah.
Everybody with a camera, a webcam, anything like that can make and share their business. And then we're seeing a very similar thing with video games.
Okay.
Where previously, you know, you had to have the hardware and the engineering know-how, and then we move forward to toolkits like Flash, like Unity, and the App Store, where anybody with a little bit of time and a little bit of work ethic will put out a game. It's a very, very similar direction. I think this is the market split between the biggest studios and everybody making something. That's the direction it's going in, we feel, or I feel especially. And this YouTube area, I think, will make up a substantial mass. Not saying it's a good thing, though, because they brought out Flash, right? Yeah. And you go, fantastic. All the indie studios, or the indie people who have really good ideas, you know, like the guy who maybe made Space Invaders, can make their awesome games. Yeah. But you end up with a lot of trash. So there's a lot of catapult games, you know?
There's a lot of shovelware out there.
That's exactly right. So, so I think that's the direction it's going, and it's good. It's opening it up to people with potentially lower specific expertise. So they can make a lot of terrible things, but it's good because a lot of people with lower specific expertise but very high creativity can make whatever they like. I think it'll probably never get to the stage where just anybody is just making anything. Yeah. But it will get close, like Little Big Planet.
Oh yeah, so we have a lot of...
Little Big Planet's kind of like the Facebook of video games.
Yeah, so a lot of user-generated content.
Exactly.
And people making their own things.
That's right, and I think studios are recognizing how economical that is to make a limited amount of content here and then go, and you guys just go for it.
Yeah, you design it.
And they love that business, you know.
Yeah. So do you think we're seeing a lot of the tools now are available that weren't before? So we have a lot of middleware available that just didn't exist before. You had to reinvent the wheel every time.
Exactly.
For working in the game industry, what type of skills do you think are required for someone to have? Like, what does someone need to know to be employable in the games industry?
That's a very good question. I have strong feelings about this, right?
Okay.
I used to have to interview people to hire them and such. Tricky business, by the way. It's very hard to interview somebody because you'd think that, you know, you go to an interview and you're very nervous. Yeah. The interviewer is just as nervous as you are, man. They don't know. You could be a psycho, you know. You could cry. No, I think it's tricky. I can only speak for Australia because we have such a small games industry. I think, and even Sydney, I think it's something like 85% of the games industry is in Melbourne.
Wow.
And then I think it was 7% in Perth,
Oh.
And then the rest is not in Sydney, it's split amongst the other states. So it's so small, my view of this is quite limited, but I think, in my opinion, from a project management perspective and from a person who's actually doing the hiring, we'd like to see somebody who's specialized in one field, and whether it be engineering or graphic design, animation, which I'll call separate from graphic design because it's a little bit different. Game design you rarely see somebody specialized in, but I would love to see somebody specialized in true game design, the mechanics of things. But if you see somebody who's specialized, like taking the time to specialize in a field, and then taking the time to learn generally your other fields, so they don't have to know how to animate or know how to model or such, but know what's involved. That is the perfect employee. We don't want somebody who's a master of everything, but a master of one thing and a generalist in everything else. They can work beautifully in a team. Everybody knows what they have to do. They're sort of well-rounded.
So they need skills in one area, but they also need to have a knowledge of everything.
And that's ideal. I think, and all of this, I don't think it comes through your education generally. A specialist area, sure, you'll be educated in that way, but it's having this general knowledge is all reflective of a passion for the area. So if you get an engineer who knows how to 3D model and animate and such, they're passionate about making games because it's a tangent skill.
Yeah.
So you see that, you get this person knows what they want to do. On the flip side, they have to have an open mind and understand that business is business. Games seem a lot like art, but as soon as you're paid to do something, it's not art, it's design. You have a client, whether or not they're the audience or your CEO. So when you come into a company and you love World of Warcraft, you are not making World of Warcraft, my friend. You certainly are not. You understand there's the company or the user base sets a perimeter for you, and you're inside the perimeter and you can do whatever you like in it. That's your field of creativity. You just can't go outside it.
Yeah.
So accept that, be happy with it. It's a good job.
Do you think in terms of education that formal education is a necessity, or is it something that people can teach themselves and if they're motivated enough to do?
Very tricky. The quality of a lot of formal education, in my opinion, is sometimes it's questionable. I'm a big fan of a formal education just because it teaches not the subject matter, but learning in a structured environment. It teaches working within requirements.
Yeah.
Especially in the more creative fields. I did creative writing for a little bit, and working to the requirements of the lecturer, because a lot of lecturers won't accept certain things. Yeah. So it's more working within a system as opposed to learning a particular thing. Most people learn most of their skills outside of university anyway. But I think if you come in without a degree, you have a massively strong portfolio because your portfolio has to offset everybody else's 3 to 5 year degree. So if you come in displaying a great amount of expertise, no problems. Yep. But it has to be enough to offset that degree, because if you come in with a degree and no folio, it's questionable. But you've proven that you can work hard or hard enough to graduate, which isn't very hard at all, within a system for X amount of time. So I think people will be more inclined to hire that because a business is another system, just like university. I don't think it's mandatory, but it's very attractive.